aloha everyone once again. So I just want to go ahead and let you guys know that we are doing a little giveaway at the end of the program tonight. So go ahead and follow at Rocket Ahuna and at Pace Hawaii on Instagram. And if you stay to the end of the night, we are going to do a drawing and one lucky winner is going to get a prize from Rocket Ahuna. Mahalo, Rocket.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming to this. Oh, is this on? Hello, there we go. Thank you all so much for coming to this. This is like the first time I've ever done really anything like this, so bear with me, but you know, exciting.
So I'm gonna give a quick little intro and then you can go ahead and just add anything that you want to. So Rocket Ahuna is a Kanaka Maoli fashion designer from Kapaʻa, Hawaii. Rocket is a graduate of the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York and received the Critic Choice Award for his capstone project in 2022. Rocket strives to translate his experiences from fit into creations that seamlessly blend contemporary fashion with the rich cultural tapestry of Hawaii. Anything you want to add to that, Rocket?
Thank you for that. I guess I recently just moved back from New York. I've been home for about a year now, and I currently live here on Oahu in Papakolea with my ohana. And I have been grateful enough to be able to invest in my own business right now and also do a lot of other side fun projects and stuff. So being home has been really great. I'm very thankful for that.
Okay, now we're gonna jump into the Q&A. I hope you're ready.
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna start off easy. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in fashion? What inspired you to start your own brand and how your vision has evolved over time?
I first kind of realized that I wanted to go into fashion through dancing hula. So I started dancing hula from, honestly, since the beginning I could walk. I attended Punana Leo, and a big part of Punana Leo is revitalizing Hawaiian language and arts. And that's kind of my first venture into dancing hula, and my favorite aspect and favorite memories from like the very first beginning times of hula were creating all of my garments. I don't know, picking all of the tea leaves in our yard and making as many beautiful tea leaf skirts as I could. And I really loved and grasped that aspect of dancing and creating and telling a story through what you're making. There's a reason for everything that we do here in Hawaiian culture, and I'm very thankful for having grown up with that as a foundation for me to venture into fashion. It allows me to build depth onto the things that I'm doing now. So dancing hula was definitely the first step into me kind of realizing that I wanted to do fashion. I actually played volleyball for a huge chunk of my high school and pursued that my freshman year of high school. And after kind of playing that first semester of college sports, I was like, this is not for me. And COVID happened. I moved home and kind of just realized and reset and decided to pursue fashion. I applied for FIT and then moved to New York and started kind of just going headfirst into the big giant realm of fashion.
So what were you initially studying?
My initial study was international business. I love being creative, and I definitely have too much ADHD to sit in a lecture class and do all of those proper business classes. I wish I paid attention more because of where I'm at now with my own business, but I started off with international business at Irvine Valley, played volleyball, and kind of just reset and I don't know, sat with myself and realized what I wanted to do for myself and pursued something then.
Absolutely. So important, especially in those early years, to figure out what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you figured it out early on. Congratulations.
Very thankful for that, yes.
Good job. Okay. So you spoke a little bit about how hula has inspired you. Can you talk a little bit more about how your culture has influenced your designs and maybe even how Aloha Hawaii has influenced your designs?
Thankfully, I've grown up on the island of Kauaʻi, and I don't know, being on Kauaʻi, you kind of get the best of everything. I'm very thankful for that. You always just know one person for one thing, and you're able to kind of grasp topics and art forms and kind of everything that you do to the fullest extent in the best way possible. And I'm very thankful for being a part of programs that my parents have put me in from a very young age, and learning from people like Lei Wan. So like I have so many beautiful kumus that I'm very thankful for, and they've just instilled so much cultural richness in me that I am able to kind of pull from my back pocket and like pursue, and also still have this connection with people till this day. So coming home and working with these people and like kind of re-grasping topics, and then also working hand on hand with, you know, people that are weavers or people that work in farming, and kind of working and building ideas off of what they experience and do every day has allowed me to grow and kind of make my own way into fashion. And I'm very thankful for being able to reference those people and work directly with them and truly get inspired by Aina and Hawaiʻi. Sorry, I don't know if that answered that question.
Absolutely. And so you do, you incorporate a lot of those practices into your designs. And that maybe is not something that's necessarily straightforward. So what first kind of gave you that indication like, oh, well, why don't we do this and this together?
Well, to me, hula is honestly, like Mary Monarch is one big pageant, and it's like the most beautiful pageant there is, honestly. And all of these islands and people represent all of these beautiful places and put forward their vision and try to execute telling a story. And at the end of the day, if you just change words around, that's what designers are doing to have fashion and like do for their collections and shows. And kind of just changing my perspective from being submersed in it in a different way has allowed me to like look at it in a different way and portray it in a different way, and still have that aspect of Hawaiian culture and telling a story, and through having every detail take part in telling that story has allowed me to really, create intersectionality with like Hawaiian culture and European fashion and all these things.
Yeah, stories are so important, right? They are what we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one of the things that really speaks to me about your designs in particular. Stories are good, but you still have to make money. And as you mentioned, business wasn't something that was very attractive to you. So how do you balance that creativity with then also building a business and making it be successful?
So I'm learning right now, for sure. Being creative, I always want to go for the most craziest piece, most nuts design ever. Of course, like whatever is being, I don't know, the things that aren't honestly sellable. And I always want to pursue those things, but kind of stepping back and realizing what allows me to pursue those things is what I'm working on now. I'm still in a foundational era of like building my business and kind of creating an idea for other people to understand what I consider also as ready to wear. So as of right now, it's a lot of just reflecting on my own work and still building and figuring out what works and what people love and what people admire about my own work that will allow me to grow into something that is, I guess, marketable and able to help build my business and build it into something that I am able to do all of those crazy garments and big dresses and stuff. So kind of just like flipping back and forth. Yeah.
Rotating between creativity and business.
That's the hard part. Definitely understanding numbers right now is probably the hardest part. I don't like numbers, but it's a part of the process, and definitely gotta love all the aspects of what you love, even the parts you don't like.
Yeah, so okay, thinking about numbers, do you research what is currently trending? And then if so, do you try to stay in front of those trends while also keeping to your unique style? Or are you kind of just like, this is my vision, I'm going for it?
Honestly, being in Hawaii, you learn that trends are gonna get to you last. Honestly, even movies at the end of the day. I grew up on Kauaʻi and everyone's watching the latest movie on Oahu and we still never got it in the movie theater, So being a part of a trend is very hard. And then especially like keeping up with a trend after moving to New York and understanding how things go through this rotation process and through seasons. And we don't experience that here. So that was kind of a hard concept for me to grab and like understand the most. And what I've learned through going through school and what people appreciated in my work had nothing to do with what was on trend, had everything to do with what I just wanted to portray. So kind of just reflecting on getting a good outline and bones of like what is being sold and what are people liking right now, but not letting it drive everything that you're going to design, because at the end of the day, you want to stick out and do something that other people aren't doing. So kind of taking in too much of what is on trend and what isn't working for other people might not necessarily work for you. So creating a good balance, but also portraying what you need to do at the end of the day, or what you want to share, is the best way to like stay on trend, I would say.
Excellent advice. So thinking about that design process, can you walk us through your personal process from going from idea to finished product?
Oh, my personal design process is always changing and morphing. I grew up around a very like talented group of kumu that are kind of always just on the fly, you know, based off of weather or what season it is. You know, you're gonna learn based off of whatever is thriving in that moment and what's going on. And I like to think that I kind of function in the same creative process as that. I first off start with a general idea, and sometimes those ideas are way too big for me to narrow down. I have way too many ideas within this like huge collection that I want to do. So focusing on one central smaller idea within that, and like kind of micro, like going into deeper, like starting off with deeper details that I want to portray and then working outwards. For example, this past collection, Kaimana, I was thankful to have been able to present at Kaimana Beach Hotel, and after knowing that I was able to like work there and be there, of course I wanted to be inspired by that place. So that was like a good way to start that design process. And then from there, I went into like old Hawaii State Archive photos of Waikiki, and kind of just looked at an outward perspective of what does Waikiki represent to everyone outside of Hawaii. Because for like growing up here, Waikiki is kind of like a place you stay away from in a way. But, you know, I'm here, I want to honor this place, and staying away from it isn't going to allow other people to understand it the way that I want to. So what do I want to do with this space, and how do I want to change that narrative was like my first venture into creating that collection. And then from there, just directly being inspired by everything that I come across. Do kanamoku, you know, prints, even just surrounding people, walking by tourists on the street is just like such a huge inspiration to everything.
Yeah, so you've mentioned kind of how your kumu have inspired you, and prints, which you know is very clear in the collection. So who are some of your other influences in the fashion industry?
Definitely in European fashion, I'm always obsessed with what's been coming out of Central St. Martin's. Central St. Martin's is like one of the biggest fashion schools in London right now. And it's been probably one of the biggest fashion schools forever. Designers like Alexander McQueen and John Galliano have graduated from schools like Central St. Martin's. And the process of like even getting into that school, I've participated in, it's kind of crazy, and it's something that people don't normally have to go through. So like I appreciate everyone being there and what they're like showcasing. A bunch of my designers that I'm like really inspired by are like Harris Reed, which is a fluid designer that's really stayed away from like the business narrative. They've been able to thrive in creating all of these crazy showpieces and not having to do any ready to wear. And like I admire that as someone that's creative, being able to like hold your foot down and have people understand your vision and know that, you know, you should invest in me because I'm going to make you successful based off of what I'm able to, you know, do for you. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, and, you know, not letting anyone really change your perspective on something. So I really admire Harris Reed. I've been really loving John Galliano, honestly. He's leaving Margiela right now, but he has been there for the past about 10 years, and he's been able to like really work with a house and execute visions that have like aligned with what they've been doing for years and years. And it's just such a beautiful thing to watch someone portray narratives that like a previous designer has already like set in still.
So looking at some of the success that Harris Reed has had, do you think that the industry is evolving, and do you think that it's going to change for independent designers and entrepreneurs?
I think that the industry, it'll always be a wild one, honestly. You never know what's going to happen, but I think that it's shifting into something where a lot of these big brands are taking bigger swings with young designers that have no experience with anything. And I think that's such a cool thing to do. You know, it's your first, you're going to have a first for everything, and giving these young designers opportunities to work with these big houses and have abilities to execute visions that are just like, you can't even fathom is such a cool thing. I've been loving, after the passing of the creative director of Off-White, which was Virgil Abloh. He was at Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton invested in a program to have new designers for the next upcoming years to kind of take a spin on who could be the next creative director. And I've been listening to a lot of the young designers that have been able to partake in that. And a lot of them didn't even look at what they were going to get paid. They just signed the check and kind of were taking a whack at pursuing a vision, because they've never had the ability to work with people that are so talented in crafting something, or working with a budget this big to execute a vision that, you know, that they've always wanted to pursue in. And I think it's so cool that the industry is shifting into taking bigger swings with younger designers and like having people understand a new perspective in the world. I definitely think fashion's kind of being run by like a lot of the older people, or like old school mentality, and it's finally shifting right now into something that everyone is beginning to love.
And who doesn't love spreading around the equity and diversity?
Yeah.
So thinking about, you know, young, maybe aspiring designers and aspiring entrepreneurs, what would you give as your, you know, one hot tip?
My one hot tip, I would say, is that execute everything that you're going through in school to the fullest extent of what you're able to do, because you don't know later on if you're able to use these projects, honestly, to like build a collection, reference, or do whatever. And also, you have the ability to take advantage of all of these amazing spaces that you don't get after you graduate school. I just got to see your creative makers room back there, and like having anywhere to have been able to work during school or take advantage of like all of these machines that I might not be able to afford after school is something that I wish I did more. And definitely pursuing all of these things and kind of working at using all of these resources is something like being a part of. I really miss being a part of FIT, because there's so many amazing resources that the school had to offer that I never took advantage of, that I wish I got to do now. But I could have used those things to focus on my projects and like have been able to practice like using these processes into doing things that I had to do. So definitely just work as if you were already in the industry. And work with quality, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. You know, they always say that Steve Jobs, he took so many different courses and workshops and just random things like lettering. And that was how he ended up thinking of the fonts that he used in his later designs. And so you never know what will be an inspiration.
No, never know.
So thinking about kind of the fashion industry as a large industry that does create a lot of waste, what kinds of things do you do within your brand to try to emphasize sustainability? And since it's becoming, you know, a really critical part of fashion, do you do anything outside of the designs, like outreach or talking to groups about it?
So as of right now, because I am a small brand, I'm able to take advantage of, you know, having smaller numbers, manufacturing smaller things, and being able to focus on the quality of something so that it lasts longer. In Hawaii, the fashion industry doesn't really follow seasons. I don't think anything really follows seasons in Hawaii. So it's a bit hard to stay sustainably like on track with making something if you don't know when you're making it or what quantities you're making it throughout a year. So I definitely like to pursue following seasons, and whenever I put on these shows, they're made with samples, and then from there I manufacture what is needed rather than just taking a guesstimate. I do want to take bigger steps into using more sustainable fabrics and sustainable processes in creating all of these garments. As you are a smaller brands have, smaller impacts and harder times to work with these bigger factories that do use sustainable processes in creating something because of those larger numbers. So as of right now, I just manufacture what is needed and what I want to make, and try my best to follow all of these seasons and like not making too much and not having too much overage. It's also just definitely something that's helpful for me as a business. I don't want too much backstock or overstock that is just sitting and not, contributing to, helping the company grow, but also like being sustainable. Having all these leftover clothes is definitely not something sustainable. No one's buying these things, and you don't want to, sell it for less than manufacturing costs because you do want to make your money back. So then other than that, you're getting rid of it, which is the hardest process, like the hardest thing to do. You don't want to get rid of your art, and also you don't want it to like hurt your business. There was a second question that was
whether you have done anything kind of going out and talking about sustainable fashion, or if you have outreach programs. Or
thankfully, through the process of designing and creating, I work with a lot of, my first show I ever did was low-key, and I got to do stuff at Papaʻa Kuaʻola. And my friends and family work at Papaʻa, and we've had community outreach days to help that place and give back to the land. And then there's another show that I'm working on coming up that I'm getting able to work with Limahuli Gardens. And some of the garments that will only be sold at Limahuli Gardens will go to benefiting the garden and preserving native Hawaiian plants. This upcoming month, which was the projection for my next show, I was supposed to do it on October 12th, had to push it back. But it is Rapid Ohia Month, so there's a lot of conservation and word about ohia and like the ohia rod that's going around. And I have been wanting to design a shirt to benefit that and give back to the Aina and, kind of invest in ways that I'm able to do with the time I have. As much as I'd love to be in the Aina all the time, I really do love being in the lo'i and hiking and doing all these things. It's, not sustainable for my business as well to keep doing these things. So creating balance and like creating a way for my business to be, funded and all of the creative visions, but also give back to the places that have provided me inspiration, that have provided me a foundation for pursuing all of these things in fashion has been something that I'm very thankful for.
Well, you mentioned Limahuli, and I'm a botanist, so I got really excited. Can you share any sneak peeks about the line? What were your inspirations for this?
So my auntie is the po'o right now, Leiwan of Limahuli Gardens, and she has just instilled so much knowledge and like inspiration for me. I remember being like a young kid picking limu and learning about all the different types of limu on the reef, and she has just instilled so much in me. And her working there, I started in my senior year of FIT working on my capstone project inspired by native Hawaiian plants. And so we had to design a minimum of 10-piece collection. And I decided to make one of those aspects, which was my woven garment inspired by Ulana Lauhala, and more specifically, the hala o naue, which has been only like a specific type of pandanus that's been only found on Kauaʻi. So getting to work with her and being at Limahuli was like such an amazing part of that senior capstone. And after having been able to take a whack at doing a fashion show here on Oahu, she reached out to me again and asked me if I wanted to do something else. And I was like, of course, let's continue this collection that I've started and really build upon it. And be inspired by all of this Aina. So I'm super excited. A lot of it is just directly inspired by native Hawaiian plants and more so things that you can only find on Kauaʻi.
Oh, I'm excited too. So many endemic species on Kauaʻi.
Yes.
Yes, feature them. Love it. Love it all. So you have mentioned a little bit, about how the community has inspired you, and maybe can you talk a little bit more about the role that community plays kind of in your business and ways that, you've already mentioned you wanted to give back in that way. So what are some other things that you do to kind of keep that pilina strong?
Definitely to stay engaged with Hawaiian craft. I grew up learning how to make lehulu and learning the specific art form of lehulu through Auntie Paulette Kalepuna, which I spent many hours on Kapahulu Avenue before she passed at her old store. And I'm very thankful to have grasped that art form and be told that I'm able to teach. So a big part of something that I love to do with giving back to the community is continuing to teach lehulu. And my mom runs a very small public charter school on Kauaʻi called Kanuʻi Kapono. And every year I am a part of the senior capstone teachers that help them create all of their graduation requirements, such as like lehulu, kihei, and really hold and instill that cultural aspect and emphasis on understanding what these things are and preserving this part of culture, especially with our youth and finding people that are interested. I have a hard time working with high schoolers, especially like ones that have kind of grown up around it that don't have an emphasis on wanting to understand it. But every once in a while, I'll find students that are just so in love with this art form, and that just makes me so happy knowing that, possibly this person will go on one day to like continue this and preserve and upkeep and keep this part of our culture alive.
Yeah, to perpetuate that ike.
Perpetuate.
So important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about one thing that you have done that you are most proud of, or a moment that you can kind of say, oh yeah, that was a moment for me?
Honestly, this right now, but there's just, this whole year has been so crazy for me, and I'm very, very, very thankful for it. Being at Kaimana, probably an hour before the show, I was just sitting there watching everyone get ready, and I truly sat in so much gratitude, knowing that all these people were here to kind of execute my vision and support me. And I don't know, that was just something that I've never experienced all of that, I guess, love and support in such a like beautiful way. And I'm very, very thankful for that. Definitely one of the best moments and things that I cherish the most about like being able to pursue something that I love.
So have you ever considered like going into teaching fashion?
Honestly, I would love to be a teacher in fashion. Like a part of Kaimana, I was my first time having interns. And of the 4 interns, I received like 4 amazing letters talking about how I was a good kumu, and I never even realized that I was teaching. And that was kind of one of the coolest, most beautiful things that I got out of, creating that and working with all of these students. And I do love teaching, I must say. So I would love to pursue doing something in the future where I'm able to continue that, work directly with people. So
do you ever feel like maybe kind of demotivated when it comes to fashion or to your designs? And what do you kind of do to address that?
I definitely get overwhelmed all the time. There's so much happening. We live in such a fast-paced environment, especially now with social media and having a trend literally live and die in a day. Like, I think the word demure died in a day. But like, you kind of have to like stay on top of things, and it's so overwhelming. And designing is a lot of, not only creative, like creatively driven, but it's very emotional. Having to like have people understand your vision and work with so many people. And I've definitely broken down a few times and like have saw myself just like want to be done with it all. But I just always love to sit back and reflect on what I've been able to accomplish and what I'm hoping to accomplish, and truly understand that I do get to pursue something that I love. So, you know, you just got to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, so that emotional connection, I'm sure you have something like that with each of your pieces. But is there a piece that when you look at it, you're like, you feel an especially strong connection to? And like, can you describe it to us?
Yeah, definitely my senior capstone dress. That was fully woven. So a big part of like designing, especially going to school in New York, was like having a hard time of being culturally connected to home. So being able to design something that was directly inspired by all the things that I've gotten to grow up doing was, and then also design it and build it somewhere where I'm not like, where I'm most foreign to, was very grounding for sure. So sorry, it's all very like emotionally,
That's my bad. I opened this up for you.
You're fine. I haven't been able to like reflect on these things in a while, which is, I'm very stoked that I get to do it right now. But definitely being somewhere else and having people that didn't grow up like around the things that I've been able to truly appreciate and understand what I'm trying to execute was a huge accomplishment for me, and definitely something that helps me want to keep pursuing this more in the future. So that dress represents so much more to me than just a dress, for sure, at the end of the day. And it's really something that like keeps me wanting to keep designing, especially because I really want other people outside of Hawaii like to understand and grasp all of the things that I've been fortunate enough to have grown up around.
Yeah, and you know, putting that out there, letting people who are outside of this culture and this ike kind of experience that. So what was the reception, and what were some of the things, you know, that people said or commented on?
Our critic's choice, or our critic for the class. So at FIT, there are probably 4 classes going on at the same time, and everyone has the same goal of participating in that senior capstone show. And then each professor in each class brings in a critic to kind of like sit on a panel, and they look at all of your work and tell you whatever they think about it, good and bad, whatever you want. And there's some tough days with having a critique, for sure. You don't want to hear a lot of the things that you probably like will help your work later on. It's just a bit hurtful to hear sometimes. And sometimes you just it teaches you to really like believe in your own vision and push forward into doing something. So working with those critiques and building upon a garment and working through that process is something that was very foreign to me, but also understanding that people do appreciate all of the things that Hawaii has to offer in a different way was a huge eye-opener for me. Working with a lot of people within the community was really cool in New York. My last semester at FIT, I was able to intern at Christian Cowan, which is another designer that graduated from Central St. Martin's, that's based out of New York, and working with him and having him also appreciate a lot of the things that I was doing for school was super cool for me, especially having had someone say such beautiful things about my work, that attended a school that I've always wanted to go to and that has accomplished things that I hope to accomplish one day, was really inspiring and super exciting for, I guess, what I'm doing now and what I'm wanting to do.
Yeah, and so impactful to feel seen by someone who is at a higher level and have that mentorship. Yeah.
For sure.
And so do you still keep in touch with people that you worked with at FIT or in New York? And how are those kind of relationships helping you?
I try to hold on to any relationship that I have from every aspect of my life. I just got back from New York last week, and while I was there, I remember I made sure to reach out to everyone that I could, At the end of the day, I really appreciate everything that all these people have instilled in me as well. I've had some amazing professors at FIT that I still am trying my best to keep in contact with and still do, and I'm very thankful for that. But you also never know, what I guess those people are going through and what you can possibly do together. A lot of my classmates are working on such amazing projects that I hope to collaborate with them soon and do things with in the future. So you definitely want to hold on to those connections. And also it's fun to see what all the people that you've learned from and grew up around are accomplishing and doing. It's very inspiring, of course, as well.
So you talked a little bit about, how hard it was to handle those critiques, and especially when you were just starting out and kind of getting, you're dipping your toe in the water. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Good question. I would probably actually say being from Hawaii, or just wanting to give your aloha everywhere. But a lot of the times aloha isn't appreciated. Or I guess people take advantage of that when you live somewhere else. So I've definitely experienced some parts of being in New York where people are so I guess money hungry or driven to the point where they take advantage of what you are trying to offer. And I guess, I don't know, hold your ground, know when to say no. I think that was the hardest part and biggest lesson that I learned about being in New York. Everyone has that feisty attitude in New York, and it took a lot of time for me to really grab that feisty attitude and have it for myself. It took, really knowing your own worth was something that I wish I got to talk to myself about, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been to New York and I have experienced culture shock where you're just kind of whoa, you are coming in hot right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Relax.
Oh my gosh, sorry for being so emotional too. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, you make a good point, right? Always come in with aloha, but remember that aloha is reciprocal, and give it where it is warranted.
Exactly.
Right?
Don't definitely start off with aloha everywhere, but if it's not, sometimes it's just not worth giving your time to, for sure.
Yeah, protect yourself.
Yeah.
From people who would take advantage, for sure. So what do you see as you talked a little bit about your shows that are coming up, but what do you see as your next kind of really big accomplishment, both kind of personally and for your business?
For my business, or I guess honestly, personally too, a big goal of mine right now is to be a part of the finalists for the LVMH program. So LVMH is the company that owns all of these big luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Loewe, and they have a prize fund every year. They have about 3 prizes, I believe, and huge internships with the Council of Fashion Design. And as a young designer, up-and-coming designer, winning that, or even just being nominated, having your name on it, and not winning anything is the biggest accomplishment ever. Being put on that stage, you kind of opens up your doors for being a part of different Fashion Week schedules and being able to work with different factories and having different priorities for things. So a big accomplishment that I hope to accomplish, a big goal of mine that I hope to accomplish is being a part of that LVMH program. Some of the requirements for that are having 2 ready-to-wear collections a year, being portrayed as a luxury brand, and it's really hard navigating and finding your way through those, building that portfolio in order to apply, especially if you don't have a lot of funding or money or platform, as some of these students are getting out of huge colleges already. It's hard to keep up with, but they have such beautiful designers that come from nothing or come from everything, and that are able to just really take that huge step in fashion. I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing accomplishment and would do so much, right, for your brand and your business. And so outside of that, how do you where do you see your brand in 5 years and then in 10 years?
Hopefully within the next 5 years, I hope to get on a fashion schedule. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there are 4 fashion weeks, of course, London, Paris, New York, and Milan. I would love to be a part of the recognized Council of Fashion Design schedule and have my clothing like showcased and pursued and like, I don't know, being put on that platform. I'd love to participate in New York Fashion Week, within the next few years and consistently. A lot of people think you just do New York Fashion Week once, but no, these brands are doing it 2-3 times a year and then also participating in different couture weeks or menswear, all of these other things within other cities. But I hope to consistently be pursuing and participating on these Fashion Week schedules within the next 5 years and 10 years and being a part of that forever, I guess.
Well, and I think maybe, a great place to start would be a Hawaii fashion.
Yes.
So there was a question from Instagram that was about where you get your inspiration from your creations. So you've already talked a little bit about how, cultural practices have inspired you and how plants have inspired you. But what are some other things outside of that?
Definitely physically, emotionally, whatever I've experienced has a lot to do with what I'm inspired by. I'm very thankful to have grown up with parents that retired with United Airlines. So my parents have encouraged me and my siblings to always take advantage of that and travel and have all of these crazy new experiences. And I love being inspired by all of the amazing people that I'm able to meet. A lot of my friends in New York are all from different places, and being able to experience their culture through them and their traditions and aspects are something that I definitely want to carry into like a lot of the things that I'll design later on. I don't necessarily want to always be inspired directly by Hawaiian culture. Something that I would love to be known for, but not as a whole. And a lot of the experiences that I've been able to go through in New York have been like a lot to do with like identity and being queer, portraying my things or finding self-confidence. And there's a lot to be inspired by in there. And I'd love to pursue those things later on when I'm looking to not directly be inspired by culture.
Yeah, maybe in your next one.
Yes.
So I think we are approaching the audience Q&A. So maybe just before we kick that off, is there any kind of last comments you want to make or stories you want to share?
I'll definitely end off with kind of saying like knowing when to say no, but also don't say no to the point where you're not able to like learn. I had a lot of hard times before moving to New York, putting myself in uncomfortable situations that have allowed me to grow. And that's just like kind of navigating within the comfort zone doesn't really allow you to grow into other places. So definitely take bigger swings at, making yourself feel uncomfortable and pursuing things that, that you might want to do, but not, it's your first time or you're not too sure. You never know until you try. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I've heard that all my life playing sports, and it's really true. You never know who you're gonna meet, what you're gonna do, or what kind of person or what kind of experience you're gonna get out of doing something. And that all shapes who you are and what you're going to do with your life. So definitely take big swings and don't be afraid of it. There's no such thing as a negative experience, I believe in. Everything is something that allows you to grow and truly like build into something that, you know your own self.
Okay. So at this time, lovely audience, we are interested in questions from you. Does anyone have a question to kick us off?
I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. Was there ever a time, do you ever find advocating for yourself or your work difficult? And was there ever a time where you felt like you needed to advocate for yourself?
There have been times where I've advocated for myself and then realized that there was no one to advocate for. The only person you're really fighting for is yourself. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that I've learned is, everyone's gonna have something to say about your own work, good or bad. But if you know what you're putting forward, you're gonna be most secure in that. And control what you can control, for sure. A lot of professors didn't agree with what I wanted to do. I went to a technical school and I pursued doing all of these avant-garde things. So I've gotten told no a lot, and I just did it anyways, honestly. So truly just knowing what you want to do is the best thing that you can do at the end of the day. Kind of thrive within a guideline. Like a guideline is there for you to, I guess, be graded on or criteria in school. But those guidelines can be pushed, and don't be afraid to push them. And sometimes it's not worth asking, just go for it. Your teacher isn't gonna be, my first critique at school, you're supposed to bring models, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna have my friend come and do hair and makeup and bring shoes and style the whole thing. And everyone was like, what the heck? Like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, I didn't ask, I just did it anyways, But it definitely got me to like get my foot in the door in a different way amongst my own classmates. And it wasn't a part of the rules, but it was definitely something that I wanted to do to stick out. But for sure, just knowing your own self and knowing what you want to portray.
How is it like living in New York from Hawaii?
I grew up on Kauaʻi, which is literally the slowest place in the world. So being somewhere where the only thing that you're doing is like going to the beach and then going to school or whatever, and that's it, that's your whole day. And then going to New York where you can step out the door and there's a million things to do was the craziest culture shock ever. I really miss New York. I didn't realize that I thrive in like such a chaotic environment. And I really love being somewhere where I'm constantly stimulated and constantly being able to take in something or witness or understand or even being a part of anything was something that I missed. But there are opportunities here, especially on Oahu, to constantly keep yourself engaged and keep yourself a part of a community. After a while of being in New York, I kind of was always shy, and then I realized doing all these things introduced me to people and kept me doing things. And I wish I just carried that aspect in high school, and especially here in Hawaii, and like continue to try to do that while living here and participating in as many things as I can to really bring over that like overstimulating New York culture and like always keep myself busy. But definitely living in New York was overwhelming in the best way. I would sum it up like that. Oh. It took me a year to realize that you're gonna get whatever you put into it, of course, and then also you're gonna get whatever your professor puts into it. I didn't take the time to really invest in who I'm learning from at FIT, and you have things like Rate My Professor and like kind of like getting a little understanding of what this person has to offer, and every single person. Every professor that you learn from has a different style of teaching, and you have a different style of learning. I was constantly kind of just following my friends to be in a class because they were there, but maybe the professor was a teaching style that my friends thrived off of, but not something that I did. And it took me a year to really realize that I really need to just get the education that I wanted out of it and learning the best way out of all of these people that have been, that offer things that I'm kind of directly inspired by. So for sure, definitely, you can build your own education at FIT, and what you get out of it is what you put into it, truly. I loved FIT. It was a very big technical school, and that was something that I wanted to get better at. Of course, I loved that creative aspect of it. But that's kind of like the perspective that I had in design was like more of a Parsons Pratt kind of perspective in New York. So going to FIT, I had professors telling me no all the time. But that definitely challenged me and has allowed me to now pursue ready to wear in a different perspective And I'm very thankful for having been able to like learn in that way and understand those things.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
How would you describe so many words your brand?
My brand, that is in the process of being built. But I would say that Rocket Ahuna is a youthful yet classic take on modern Hawaiian art and like creating intersectionality with European fashion, and taking European trends and silhouettes and understandings and doing what our kupuna did, which is like reinterpreting them into something that, you know, a Hawaiian, like you're able to get a Hawaiian understanding and kauna from. Sorry, I don't even know if that answered that, but yeah.
Question. So, I think joining a creative industry, there's like not any paved paths. I feel like some people like their experience going to school or not, or maybe they do something random, right?
Mhm.
How did you find your path to the creative industry without like listening to all the noise around you?
There's a lot of noise in the creative industry, especially because a lot of people have experienced something similar and then want to like push you in a way, but everybody is different, of course. Being in Hawaii, I definitely got overwhelmed with kind of working with all of these people. In New York, I felt like a very little fish in a big pond, and then coming home with the experiences that I've had, I'm very thankful for, but then I felt like a bigger fish in a little pond, and then having a lot of projects kind of thrown at me. There are a lot of opportunities that you definitely should pursue, for sure. But at the end of the day, don't ever jump on a project too quickly. First of all, you, like understand what it is and what you're going to pursue within it or what you're trying to get out of it in any program or whatever, and understand if that's something that you want to do. And then from there, you know, take that step on to, you know, pursuing it and doing it, and then kind of knowing if you still want to be in it. Definitely maximize your time in being like occupied with a lot of things, but make sure those things that are occupying are helping you get to your next goal. Coming home and having so many crazy things happen, I pursued so many little side projects that I definitely wouldn't have done, and like kind of wasted like time and funds and resources that I wish I didn't, that I wish maybe waited little longer to like pursue or like did things. And definitely always reflecting on everything before you taking that next step is like the biggest advice in that, I would say. Any more questions? Okay.
Do you have a favorite garment or thing to make and why?
I wouldn't say I have like a favorite garment, but I definitely will say that a big Rocket Ahuna thing is like volume. I don't work with anything unless it's a minimum of 10 yards. I'll always buy 10 yards first, which is crazy. But from those 10 yards, I'll make sure all 10 yards are used. And that means lots of ruffles and lots of gathering. And I just love volume. Having something like large, especially like walking around galleries in New York, I used to love going to galleries that were big paintings. It's just like that impact, and having those like huge, large scales were something that I truly admired and loved going to the art museum. And being able to like take that into fashion and like really admire that volume, but in different ways, is something that I choose to like love to do and pursue. Yeah, volume.
As a creative, did you ever receive like pushback, like you should do something more practical, and how did you respond to that? If so.
So I had a professor in high school, Professor Cutting, I believe. He said no to a lot of my projects, and I still did them anyways, which didn't get me great grades, but I'm very stoked on like doing those things. Kind of like working with a professor is something hard, and especially because that person is kind of basing off of what they're judging you or the criteria that they have off of like years of experience of having done it before. So they're living within a mindset that like, you know, they're only gonna judge based off of what they've seen or experienced. And a lot of the time, a lot of professors don't like to live without that, like live outside of those boundaries. So the things and examples that they're giving you are within those boundaries. But I kind of loved to push the expectation and like limits of something, which kind of didn't work well with some professors. But I don't know, I love to challenge myself in that way, and kind of being told no was something fun sometimes. And I didn't really care about my grades. I wanted to make sure I was just getting what I wanted out of the class. I was always told, especially by all the designers that went to school in New York, like no one's asking like, oh, you got straight A's at FIT. I'm like, no, like no one's saying that. You know, you went to FIT and that's about it. And now what did you get out of that school and what are you trying to take from it to pursue? So kind of knowing that like, you know, do what you need to do to get by within a class, but also like don't live within a boundary that allows you to just not grow, you know? Push the limits a little.
Okay, so that we have time for networking, we're gonna go ahead and move on, but make sure you hold your questions because you'll have a chance to talk to Rocket after the event. So right now, we're gonna go ahead and pick a winner.
Okay.
Don't bring it to me, goodness. Da, 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 da,
Okay. Arinya Marcelino. Sorry, I don't. Arnea. Oh, you won the link.
Arnea, come and collect your prize.
I'm so sorry.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Arnea. So at this time, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up here. First of all, I just wanna say mahalo to all of you for coming and joining us tonight. Mahalo, Rocket, for being with us. Let's give Rocket a round of applause.
Thank you all so much.